There are some celebrity moments that instantly grab everyone's attention. And then there are moments that become viral because of what wasn't said. Anne Hathaway is currently expecting her third child. But there's one detail about the pregnancy that she has carefully kept private. Is the baby a boy or a girl? Fans have been wondering about that question ever since Hathaway announced her pregnancy. The actress revealed in June that she and her husband, Adam Shulman, were expecting another child. The announcement came with a photo that immediately caught everyone's attention. Hathaway was visibly pregnant, and fans quickly flooded the internet with congratulations. But along with the congratulations came one predictable question. Was she having another boy? Or was the family finally welcoming a baby girl? Hathaway already has 2 sons with Shulman. Their older son is Jonathan, and their younger son is Jack. So naturally, fans became curious about whether baby number 3 would be another boy. But Hathaway wasn't giving anyone the answer. Then came an appearance that made the mystery even more interesting. On Jimmy Kimmel Live, guest host Anthony Anderson decided to take a guess. Anderson told Hathaway that he considered himself something of a baby whisperer. Then he looked at her pregnancy bump and made his prediction. He thought the baby was a boy, but instead of confirming or denying his guess, Hathaway smiled and gave a very careful answer. She basically told him that she and Adam already knew, but they weren't going to tell the public. That one response immediately changed the story, because now fans knew something important. There actually was an answer. Hathaway wasn't saying that she didn't know. She wasn't saying that the doctors hadn't told her. She wasn't playing a guessing game. She and her husband knew the baby's sex. They had simply decided to keep it between themselves. And Hathaway seemed genuinely uncomfortable about disappointing people. When the studio audience cheered her decision, she thanked them. She even admitted that she sometimes felt bad when people asked. But she still wasn't changing her mind. And that made the mystery even bigger, because the question wasn't whether Anne Hathaway knew. She clearly did. The question became whether she would ever decide to share it. And just days later, something happened at Disney's D23 event that brought the question back again. This time, Hathaway wasn't sitting across from a television host. She was standing on stage in front of a massive audience. She was there for a very different reason. She was being honored as a Disney legend. And nobody expected one shouted question from the crowd to steal part of the moment. But that's exactly what happened. A fan suddenly asked the question that Hathaway had already been avoiding. Boy or girl? For a moment, the attention shifted completely. Everyone wanted to see what Hathaway would do. Would she finally reveal the secret? Would she joke about it? Or would she simply ignore the question? Her response became the moment people started talking about. And it showed once again that Hathaway had absolutely no intention of giving away the secret. By the time Anne Hathaway arrived at D23, the baby gender mystery was already well established. She had already made her position clear on television. She and Adam Shulman knew the baby's sex, but they weren't sharing it publicly. That distinction is important, because there were plenty of headlines and social media guesses trying to predict what the couple was expecting. Some people guessed boy. Others started wondering whether this pregnancy would finally bring a daughter into the family. But Hathaway herself wasn't confirming either possibility. And that's what made the D23 moment so interesting. Hathaway wasn't attending the event simply as a pregnant celebrity. She was there as one of the newest Disney legends. At the 2026 D23 event in Anaheim, she was officially honored alongside other major entertainment figures. For Hathaway, the moment was especially meaningful. Her relationship with Disney goes all the way back to The Princess Diaries. That movie introduced her to millions of fans as Mia Thermopolis. She later returned for The Princess Diaries too. She also appeared as the White Queen in Alice in Wonderland and its sequel. So her Disney career has covered more than 2 decades. And now she was standing on stage receiving one of Disney's biggest honors. But during that emotional celebration, someone in the crowd decided to ask something completely unrelated to her award: the baby's sex. According to footage and reports shared after the event, the question came from the audience while Hathaway was on stage. It was a surprisingly personal question. After all, Hathaway had already made it clear that this was information she wanted to keep private. But instead of getting angry or making the situation uncomfortable, she handled it calmly. That reaction is part of what made the clip spread. People weren't just interested in the question. They were interested in how Hathaway responded under pressure. And that has become something of a pattern with her. When she's put in an awkward public situation, she often tries to keep things light. She doesn't need to turn every uncomfortable moment into an argument. Instead, she can redirect the energy with humor or a simple response. That's essentially what happened here. The fan wanted the answer everyone had been waiting for, but Hathaway wasn't ready to give it. And honestly, she didn't have to. Pregnancy is already an intensely personal experience. For someone as famous as Hathaway, almost every detail can become public speculation. Her clothes are analyzed. Her baby bump is photographed. Her appearances become headlines. And even the sex of her unborn child becomes a topic of public discussion. So keeping one small piece of information private can become surprisingly difficult, especially when thousands of people are watching. That's why the D23 moment felt different. It wasn't a planned interview question. It wasn't a carefully prepared press conference. It came unexpectedly from the crowd, and Hathaway still managed to stay composed. The moment also reminded fans of something she had said just days earlier. She knows the answer. She simply doesn't believe everyone else needs to know it. And that became the real story. Not whether the baby is a boy, not whether the baby is a girl, but how Anne Hathaway handled a question she clearly wasn't prepared to answer publicly. And the more people watched the clip, the more they appreciated her response. There's a reason baby gender speculation can become so intense around celebrities. Fans feel connected to stars they've watched for years. They follow their movies. They celebrate their relationships. They watch their families grow. So when a celebrity announces a pregnancy, fans naturally become curious about everything. But Anne Hathaway has always been relatively protective of her family life. She and Adam Shulman have 2 children already. Their sons have largely stayed away from the spotlight compared with many celebrity children. Even when the family appeared together at D23, the moment was unusual because Hathaway's sons made a rare public appearance alongside their parents. That gives some context to her decision with the third baby. She isn't necessarily trying to create a massive mystery. She simply doesn't appear interested in turning every private family detail into public entertainment. And she has been consistent about that. During her television appearance, Anthony Anderson tried to guess the baby's sex. He guessed boy. Hathaway could have easily said yes. She could have laughed and confirmed it. She could have even teased the audience with a hint. Instead, she said that they knew but weren't saying. Then something interesting happened. The audience cheered. That reaction seemed to surprise Hathaway. She thanked them for supporting her decision. She also explained that she sometimes feels rude when she refuses to answer questions about the baby. Think about that for a second. She wasn't annoyed that people were curious. She actually seemed concerned about appearing impolite. But she still maintained the boundary. And that makes her D23 moment even more interesting. Because when the question came from the crowd, she didn't suddenly change her position. She didn't reveal the secret just because thousands of people were watching. Instead, she handled the moment in her own way. And that's why the clip quickly became a talking point online. Fans started praising her for remaining calm. Others joked about how quickly she was able to handle an unexpected question. Some people also pointed out the obvious. The public simply isn't entitled to every detail about a celebrity's pregnancy. And that became a major part of the conversation surrounding the video. The interesting thing is that Hathaway hasn't completely avoided talking about the pregnancy. Quite the opposite. She's spoken warmly about becoming a mother again. She's talked about how excited her sons are. She has described the experience as something the whole family is sharing. She even called the pregnancy a kind of buzzer beater, joking about how surprised she and Adam were that everything worked out this way. So she's not hiding the pregnancy. She's simply choosing which parts belong to the public. And that distinction matters. The baby bump can be seen. The pregnancy has been announced. The family is excited. But the baby's sex remains private. And after the D23 question, that privacy became even more noticeable. Because if Hathaway can resist revealing the answer when someone asks her directly in front of a huge crowd, she probably isn't planning to accidentally reveal it anytime soon. At least not until she decides the time is right. And that leaves fans with exactly one thing: a mystery. So now we have a very simple question. Is Anne Hathaway having a boy or a girl? The honest answer is that the public doesn't know. And that's not because Hathaway doesn't know. She has confirmed that she and Adam Shulman know. They've simply decided not to announce it. That means every prediction circulating online is still just speculation. Anthony Anderson guessed boy. Fans have made their own guesses. Social media has obviously chosen sides. But none of those guesses have been confirmed by Hathaway. And that's exactly what makes the story so interesting. For once, the mystery isn't coming from a secret source. It's coming from the celebrity herself. She's essentially saying, "We know, you don't, and we're okay with that." The D23 moment only made that boundary more visible. Hathaway was celebrating a major career achievement. She had just been honored as a Disney legend. She was surrounded by fans who had followed her career for years, and yet someone still managed to turn the attention toward her pregnancy. The question was personal, but her response remained controlled. That response also fits with the way Hathaway has spoken about her family throughout this pregnancy. She has been open about the joy of becoming a mother again. Her sons are reportedly excited about their new sibling. She has described the experience as something the entire family is going through together. But she hasn't treated the baby's sex as something the public automatically deserves. And honestly, that may be the most interesting part of the entire story. Celebrity culture often creates the expectation that famous people should reveal everything. Pregnancy announcements become major events. Baby names become headlines. Ultrasound photos become social media content. And gender reveals can become enormous public spectacles. Hathaway has taken a different approach. She's sharing the happiness without sharing every detail. And fans seem to be respecting that more than you might expect. The D23 clip became popular partly because Hathaway didn't lose her composure. She didn't turn an awkward question into a dramatic confrontation. She simply handled it and moved on. That calmness is what made the moment memorable. And there is another reason people are watching closely. Hathaway's career is already having an unusually busy year. She's appearing in major projects while preparing to welcome her third child. She's also returning to some of her most famous roles and franchises. Yet despite all that attention, she continues to keep one part of her life firmly under her control: the baby's sex. So will she eventually reveal it? Maybe. But if she does, it will almost certainly be because she chooses to. Not because a fan shouted the question. Not because a television host guessed correctly. And not because social media demanded an answer. Until then, the mystery remains. Boy or girl? And Hathaway knows. Adam Shulman knows. Their family may know. But the rest of us are still waiting. And perhaps that's exactly how Anne Hathaway wants it. Because sometimes the most powerful celebrity response isn't a shocking reveal. It's simply knowing what to keep private. And in Anne Hathaway's case, that secret remains completely hers.